thank you so much for joining us for the sports activity for Discovering the Scientist Within event. We are so excited that you are joining us and are able to participate along with us today. Before we get into the activity, we do want to talk about a notable woman in STEM that ties into sports engineering. So with that, I will hand it over to Ellie, who is a current OSU student and is going to tell us a little bit about it.
Thank you so much, Emily. As Emily has stated, my name is Ellie, and I am a current third-year student studying biochemistry and molecular biology at Oregon State University. I am currently focused on pursuing medicine, but sports engineering and all of the processes that go into it are really interesting to me. So I'm really excited to be able to introduce a notable woman in STEM who has helped contribute to this field an immense amount. And her name is Stephanie Qualik. So she was born in 1923 in New Kensington, Pennsylvania, and she shared a love for fabrics and sewing with her mother. She originally wanted to go into medicine like I am trying to, but she found a place as a lifelong chemist through researching polymers at DuPont. And so it's really cool to see that she was able to take her love for like sewing and her love for chemistry and mix that all together to create a really exciting new industrial fiber called Kevlar. So Kevlar is used in products like spacecrafts and helmets and tennis rackets and protective gloves. So this is a product that is really strong and durable, and it's able to be used in a lot of different things. And if Stephanie Qualik had not used the intersection of all her different interests and her passions, we wouldn't have this amazing product today. So with that, I hope you keep in mind Stephanie Qualik as you go into sports, and I hope that you enjoy experimenting on your own. Thank you. Welcome everyone. We're so excited to have you today for the sports activity from our June 2021 virtual Discovering the Scientist Within event. My name is Ellie and my major is biochemistry and molecular biology, but I'm here to pass it off to our presenter, Nina, who will get us started on our activity.
Yes. So hi everyone. Let me just get my presentation pulled up. Share. Go. Oh, present. And if it loads. Okay, yes. Hi everyone. My name is Nina. Again, welcome to the DSW sports event. Just to quickly start off, if you guys can either follow along through this presentation or you guys can start the activity right after. But in your kits, oh man, I forgot to bring my hot glue gun. It's downstairs. In your kits, you should have a hot glue gun. It's like navy blue. If you guys want to follow along and or just when we're done and immediately want to start on your activity, you guys can use your hot glue gun. So, because it takes a while to heat up. That's what I'm trying to get to say. Yes, Ellie.
Just real quick, is this supposed to be in the do not open until told?
Yes. You can definitely open the bags. Yeah, you guys can look through the material. But yeah, it's gonna be in the small little baggie. And it's just a blue hot glue gun. Hopefully you guys seen them before. If not, it's all right. But you guys can connect that to an outlet and make sure you put at least something under it. So when it drips out the hot glue stick, which are also in there, they're like these clear long tubes. It doesn't fall and stick to your floor and make a huge mess. But you guys don't have to do that right now. You guys can do that later. Just like a heads up, it does take a little while to heat up. But other than that, we can start the activity. I'll first start off with introducing myself and my club that I'm representing, then go and introduce the activity you guys will be doing today. So my name is Nina Flores Parra. I am a first generation college student here at Oregon State, meaning I'm the first in my family to go to college. I am majoring in mechanical and manufacturing engineering, as well as minoring in German. Something I really want to do in the future is I grew up playing sports, so I'm really interested in like the sporting industry, specifically product development, where you get to make and develop new products for athletes or for like just anyone in general. And I really want to focus on the sustainability aspect. So trying to make products are more sustainable for the environment, more green, more reusable. But yeah, that's what I want to do later on with my career. Some things that I'm interested in outside of school, obviously, again, sports, specifically basketball. I really like to play basketball. I also enjoy reading books. I'm a huge plant mom. I have around like 40-ish plants, I want to say. And I like exploring, whether it be like going on hikes with my dogs or like traveling to different countries and learning about new and different cultures. But yeah, that's about me. And I am today representing the Sports Product Development Club. We're a new organization, a new club. We have been around in Oregon State around 3 years, I want to say. And it's basically just a group of students who are interested and share a common like passion in sports. And we get to like share, like bring these passions and interests and make really cool equipment or apparel that is like sporting industry wise. To do a better job at explaining what I'm trying to say, there's a video of Andy. He is the vice president of our club, but I can just click into it. I might need to share my computer sound. Go.
Hey, what's up guys? It's Andy, and I'm the current Vice President for Oregon State Sports Product Development Club. We need a creative outlet more than ever, and this is why OSU Sports Product Development Club could be a great tool for you. We have 22 majors, and there's no experience required. Anyone can join, and you can learn something new. The 3 pillars of our club are guest speakers, industry tours, and year-long projects. Industry tours are currently on hold right now, but we plan on having at least 1 guest speaker per term. During fall and winter terms, we had 5 industry tours where we toured Nike, Sigma Design in Portland, and a couple other companies. Here are some of our past projects.
RAD for Robust Aquatic Dummy, which is a floating dummy for water polo players, and Smart Strike, which is a shoe insert for runners.
Currently, we have 4 potential options for what our fall project could be.
Yeah, so as you can see, we do a lot of cool stuff. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we had to stop a lot of what we were doing, mainly industry tours where we go to like different companies and got to see what they do, but we still continued on with our projects, which is, yeah, with projects, here, like we've made bike frames, we've done this shoe insert where like you can see the little app here, it tracks your strike pattern, which is really cool. It gives a lot of like feedback in ways that you can improve when you're running. And we've also, when we've gone to industry tours, we've gone to like Nike, Adidas. This is a picture of when we went to Adidas. We got to make some shoes, which leads us to our activity, make a shoe. You guys today will be making a shoe out of materials, a bunch of random materials that won't seem so random once we get to the end of the video. But like the shoe industry, like shoes in the sporting industry is really essential because without the right shoes, like you won't have the necessary like protection or like what's the word I'm looking for? It would make everything harder. So like when you're playing basketball, if you're not wearing shoes, you're gonna slip and fall, probably like sprain your ankle. If you're like running and you're running like outside in really uneven terrains, you're probably gonna get like a bunch of like blisters or have a lot of sharp objects like hit your feet and stuff. So like shoes are really essential in the way in like in the sporting industry. But yeah, but before we actually start with the activity, I just want to give you guys some more information about how shoes are made and like different parts and components in a shoe. I won't cover all of it because it's a lot, but I'll do my best for you guys to like learn a little bit more about the industry of shoe making and design. So, that's the wrong computer. So first off, you have to think about who actually makes these shoes. When I first learned about shoes, I just thought it was a designer. I thought it was just someone who drew out the concept and then like send it to someone, which it does get sent to someone, but like it's like it gets designed in a way. But I never thought it was like so complex. Like, so when you first start off, you start with a designer who makes a shoe, then it goes off to an engineer who they make sure that the shoe performs. It's like performs well enough for it to go into marketing. So the people who actually sell the product for you. But there's like a huge team of people who work on making the shoe. It's not just the designer alone, which is really cool. And I never knew that again. But it just really makes you like wonder how big the industry is. So again, when the shoe, when you first start like thinking of a shoe, designers have to think like, who is the shoe design? Like, who's gonna be the person using your shoe? And like, how is this gonna like resolve their problem? So maybe in this case, like the shoe can be designed for a kid. You wanna make sure the shoe like is comfortable enough for a kid who's gonna be running around, comfortable and durable, who's gonna be running around playing in dirt and stuff. Maybe it's someone who like is in a wheelchair and can't walk. Can't bend down as well as someone who's perfectly healthy. Maybe they don't want shoelaces, they don't need shoelaces. So the designer has to think of ways on how to make a shoe where it's like more accessible for someone to put on who can't do those needs. But the overall purpose of before starting a design for a shoe is to connect with your user and ultimately solve their problem through your design. From there, you can see, wrong screen again, my bad. From there, you can see that the designers go through a whole process of making sure that shoe is not only like functional, but also aesthetically pleasing. You don't want to have like, I don't know, this like piece of like paper just sold to you for like $50. Like that's, I don't know, I wouldn't buy those shoes. So yeah, like they are essentially making the shoe look aesthetically pleasing for when it goes out to market, you want to buy that shoe. But they work really closely with a like group of engineers and scientists to make sure that the shoe is functional and it's comfortable enough for the user to use. And like there's several different shoes that are out there, whether it be like for like basketball, hiking, running, just leisure where you're just walking around. All of those have different designs. So there's different designers working on those different types of shoes, which is really cool. And within the shoe, you have several different components. This picture over here to, I believe it's the left. Yeah, to your left is a shoe we actually deconstructed a few months ago. Our club had a deconstruction workshop where we got to take apart a shoe and just discover how many like pieces and components there are in the shoe. I believe this is like Air Max or something. It's a kid shoe, and there's like the airbags here where it was like the cushioning system, but there's a lot and stuff. If you like slice a shoe down the middle, you'll see that there's different layers. At first you were like, it's just a bunch of foams and rubbers glued together, which it kind of is, but there's like so much more in like science and engineering that goes behind the whole purpose of these like foams and rubbers and stuff like that. But yeah, it's really cool. when you so I'll just take it apart on how like every shoe function works, and like the science behind it. So for the first up, you have the shoe component, or the uppers, which is like this fabric piece. The whole purpose of it is for it to like hold your shoe together on your feet, so it doesn't like fly off, and like everything is protected. There's several different materials that could be used depending on the activity that you're doing. You might need different fabrics. So like maybe you want a waterproof shoe. You definitely don't want to be wearing leather, because you want to add some protection to that leather in a certain way, so the material doesn't like fall apart. You want something that's durable, maybe like you just want like some nice shoes that you can just wear around, that are comfortable, so some fabric that you don't have to worry about. There's so many materials out there I can't even begin to explain. But if you look closely, you can see that there's these like eyelets. Commonly they're like made out of rubber or like metal or fabric, and the whole purpose of them is just so you can attach shoelaces, so it can like be more tight on your shoe, and it's like more comfortable when you're walking around. We also have Shanks, which I didn't know about this until a few months ago, but Shanks sort of look like this. They're in different like, there's different types of them, but the whole purpose of a shank is to stiffen the shoe and make it the middle of the shoe more resistant to overflexion and torsion. And what I mean by that, those are kind of big words. It's just to make the shoe more rigid and stable enough so it's not bending, because you don't want a shoe that you want to wear and all of a sudden like just like bends over. Maybe sometimes you do want those shoes, but in most cases you don't. So those are just there to make sure that the shoe doesn't overbend. So it ensures that, but also the placement of them is important. When you place them in your shoe, you want to make sure that the shoe does bend, because when you're wearing a shoe, like when you're walking, your toes are going to bend a little. So you put the shank in there as well, so it bends at the toe, but it doesn't bend anywhere else in the shoe. My shoe, it's kind of dirty, but I'll be using this a lot. Yeah, the shank also ensures that it's like, yeah, I already talked about it. It gives structure to the overall heel, and more support for the person to be using. Let me continue on. So then here we got a shoe last. A shoe last is actually really interesting. When you're making a shoe, I'll just play the video and talk about it the same way. So the shoe, when it's being constructed, you need a 3D foot model of it, of like a foot. So that's what the shoe last essentially is. And there's many different like shapes and sizes to these, because like when you're making a shoe, not everyone has the same shoe size. So they're gonna have to make like size 9, size 10, and they're gonna have to make it women's and men's. So there's so many different like shoe lasts out there, and depending on the sport that they're doing, the whole shoe last is just gonna be different like sizes for that shoe made specifically. Over here in the video, you can see that they are they're using the shoe last to construct the shoe, so you can like see how it's being constructed together. But there's several different ways that the last can be attached to the rest of the shoe. All the techniques have similar outcomes, and as I mentioned before, the last comes in different shapes. So in running shoes, I'm going to use those as an example. There's several different, like I believe, no, there's three different types of lasts that are created for them, just because like when you're running, it's you need different stability for them, so like different purpose for the running shoe. But yeah, I don't know how much longer. So yeah, they're just putting the shoe together, the last, and then it'll like, if I skip ahead, I don't know if I skipped too far, I probably did. It just shows them removing the last from the shoe, which is really cool. Let me continue. I don't know if Why doesn't it want to go? There we go. So yeah, so there's the 3 different kind of lasts is basically like the bottom part of the shoe. You have it a straight last, you have a semi-curved last, and you have a curved last, my bad. But the way that they work, a curved last, which is this one, has like a C shape to it, and the majority of like running shoes and spikes are often curved. So it's like light enough for like the runner to like run in, because you don't want to have a lot of weight when you're running. The straight last, which is more commonly found in motion control shoes, is really great for stability. Some running shoes do have these, but it's not the most common just because there are a lot heavier. You typically see the straight last in basketball shoes though, because you want to just be more to the ground, glued to the ground in a way. And when you're jumping and doing all these rapid movements, you don't want to be moving around a lot. So these are a lot more stable compared to the semi-curve and curve. So you'll definitely see these more in basketball shoes. And then you also have semi-curve, which is like a hybrid between the straight and the curved. And the majority of the running shoes, like just the regular running shoes, not spikes, which are used for like sprinting, will have this curve because it's a good combination of like lightweight and support. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And then we have the shoe molding. So shoe molding is super interesting. It's what they use to make like the bottom part of the shoe. It's really cool. But later on, I'll talk about like the downfall of it in a way. But I'm gonna play this video, and it goes through the whole process of how a shoe molding is being made and basically what it's used for.
So we're actually here at the molding location. This is where they create the bases. This machine right here is the one that makes it all possible. So we're here with my man Abram, who's the guy in charge of this entire process, and he's going to show us right now exactly how this all goes down. So essentially what he's doing here is he's pretty much putting this whole thing together. So he takes the designs that a designer will send him, and he'll actually create a 3D model of it, because those 3D models become these types of bases that you see here. So this was a shoe design that somebody created, and he's in charge of making sure that the shoe design is going to fit the base. This is the molding, so this is all really where it all starts right here. And he makes sure that the designs that were envisioned come to life. So that's what he's doing on the computer right now. And once that design actually gets created, it goes over to that machine where the mold for this comes to life, which is a metal piece, which I'll show you guys right now. Right now, we're getting an inside look at how the CNC machine produces the molds for the sneaker soles. Those pieces flying out of this machine are scorching hot. Normally, the doors are closed. We wanted to get you a close-up shot for you guys. The crazy part is that it could take up to 10 hours to create the mold for one sneaker design. Keep in mind, this mold is just for one size. Typically, shoes come in more than just one size. So you can imagine how much time is spent creating all the sizes that you need for a design. Once the mold is completed, it is measured and inspected to ensure that it will function correctly during the injection process. Part of this inspection includes ensuring that it closes correctly, because if it doesn't seal correctly, the sole of the shoe is at stake. The man right here is slamming it shut in order to mimic the pressure of the machine you will see in an upcoming part. And the blue material that is applied will show how close or how far they are to having the proper spacing. So what's happening here is they take the CNC molds, put it over here. This guy makes sure that it's gonna actually close right, because it's a pretty big deal for it not to close. So it needs to close real tight, because then it's actually injected with the molding material, and essentially it's put together on one side. The sole pretty much sits on here, then the other base comes in and closes on it, and then what ends up happening is they inject the actual material, and your final product looks like this, which is what we're going to head over to actually show you how those pieces start from here.
Yeah, so basically that's what a shoe molding is, and I guess I can just talk a little bit more about what I'm going to already talk about later. But something I don't like about this shoe molding method is that it's not really environmentally friendly, so it's not really sustainable. As he was mentioning, you're using like this big piece of metal and you are using it to create several different sizes. But that when that metal is being carved, like there's a lot of shavings and pieces that are just like not used again. And it just goes into waste. Like there's not really any like way that you can reuse it in a way into like the product again. So it's just, it causes a lot of waste. And it's also really inefficient when making a shoe. As he was saying, I think it's like 10 hours to make one of these moldings, which is a really long time, especially if you have to make like hundreds of them in like different sizes and different like shapes. So it's not the most efficient way because once a shoe goes out of style, what's going to happen with the whole block of the molding? It's just going to be thrown away, which is something we really want to prevent from happening. So that's kind of my thing of why I don't like shoe molding. But overall, it's a really cool process of making a shoe, like the outsole, which I get to next.
So we're actually here at the molding location. This is
so the outsole. Basically, the outsole is meant to provide footwear with the necessary traction and protection from surface that it's going to be in contact with. They can be made from various different materials, often like rubber, leathers, and other synthetic materials. The material used depends on the use of case for the shoe. So whether it's going to be running, hiking, sprinting shoe. And the outsole is usually just referred to as a sole of a shoe, which is the bottom. So over here, you have different pictures of different tractions of the shoes. Oh man, I didn't change this picture. But basically, in a way, so this is your regular running shoe. You're just gonna be running like on concrete and stuff. So you probably need some sort of like traction or grip to the outsole, but not a lot in comparison to someone who's gonna be hiking in really rough, uneven terrains, and that needs a more durable, thicker, waterproof material like these ones down here. Then we have your spikes, which for sprinting, you can see here, they have these like little metal points at the bottom, and they're usually at the tip because when you're sprinting, you're running on your like tippy toes kind of thing. So that's there. You got some spikes, or not spikes, you got cleats, which I guess some of them do have spikes. So these are basically just for when you're playing soccer, provides better traction and grip when you're running on the floor. So you're not like, it gives you enough like friction or traction for you to slip around when you're running, but also just like keeps you firm on the ground. Then you have basketball shoes. And for basketball, the way that they're designed is that you want the outsole to be on contact with the floor at all times, in a way for it to like just prevent injuries, but you also don't want to make it, let me see, think of another word. You want it to be sticky enough to the ground, but you want it to be sticky enough from keeping you from like slipping and sliding, which helps avoid injuries and stuff like that. But also you want it, but also like for basketball, I know so much like about this. I have my shoes here. Like over time, the bottom part of the shoe is gonna like wear out. So like this compared to like my hiking sandals, which are like, you can see the bottom is like more thicker, the traction. They're a lot smaller because you don't need the whole, it's a lot smaller and even, just because like you don't need as much traction for the ground, because you're just gonna be pivoting and stuff, which is also like is why you have like different designs for it, in comparison to like the hiking shoe or something where you want to be more firm to the ground and you don't want to slip and like fall off a cliff or something. But yeah, and what really makes a good outsole is, again, the grip. So like say during winter, it's easier to slide and slip around the ice or the sidewalk when you're walking because it's really icy. So if you're wearing like leather shoes or basketball shoes, or even cleats, instead of like really grippy rubber ones, you're gonna like slip. Same thing when it goes to like, again, hiking boots or like trail running shoes. Just having a good grip is really essential. Also durability. So depending on different uses for the shoe, some might have better durability than others. So again, like if you walk on like shoes that have a lot of grip, these are just gonna like flatten down. Mine already flattened down a lot because you're just using it so much. And so when you're choosing for a material for the bottom of it, you want to really think about it. What material is gonna be better in the long run. Usually outsoles use rubber or other synthetic material just because like they have better durability in the long run. And like other than that, you also want comfort. It's really cool that some shoes have a lot of traction, but a lot of it weighs it down, making it heavy. So when you're designing different types of shoes, you have to think about, do you really want a really heavy shoe when you're running? So you have to think about the materials that are being used in it. So you might not want to be using rubber. You might want to be using some synthetic material that like you made because it's a lot lighter than like your regular old rubber and stuff. But those are basically the three. There's a lot more, but like the top three as to what makes a good outsole. Next slide. And it brings us to cushioning, which is actually one of my favorite things about shoes. There's so many like different like innovative ways that people have like come up with cushioning systems. Cushioning basically is what makes your shoe like comfortable in a way, but also like easier for you to walk in. Here I have several different images of different materials used in the cushioning of your shoe. You can typically find this like between the outsole of the shoe and like the top, like the upper part of your shoe. But you usually use foams or different types of synthetic foams for your cushioning system. There's also like airbags, which you can see those in Nike shoes. I have actually some here, and they're usually just filled with like gases or I can't think of the word, but like gases is the most common thing that you'll like see inside them. You also have stuff like the Nike Joyrides. These little beads are actually like recycled materials. And they did like years and years of studying on how to make that shoe comfortable enough for people to like walk and run in. And it actually does feel like you're walking in the cloud. I have 2 pairs of these. They're super nice. Definitely wouldn't wear them all day, but it's really nice when you're like just doing a really light jog. They feel really comfortable. You also have really cool innovative stuff. And there's actually a video I'll show you guys about this. This is the Adidas 4D printed shoe. 4D printed, it's like a really new technology. And how I was talking about the shoe molding earlier, they created a whole new way in creating this like this outsoled cushioning. So it's like a 2-in-1 sort of thing. And then you have stuff over here like the Zoom X. It's its own like material that Nike created. There's a lot of controversy. There's a lot of like controversy. There we go. Controversy behind the shoe. Like not only is the foam really cool and like the way that they designed the overall shoe, but like the shank, how I was talking earlier, they used a carbon fiber shank. And like the combination of both, like just made a runner like run faster in a way. And there's like a lot of like scientific explanation behind this. I really don't want to get too into it because I really like you guys to like learn or do your activity. But yeah, it's super cool. I definitely recommend you guys search up, but there's a lot of controversy and like several record-breaking, several like world records were shattered with runners wearing the shoe, which is really cool. And it just shows like some of the ways that cushioning really impacts an athlete. Then we got shoe testing. So once you make a shoe, you need to test the shoe. You don't want to like automatically just sell it out in the market. You want to make sure your shoe is actually functionable, which is where a lot of the engineers come in. They again make sure that your shoe executes the function that it was made to do. And if it doesn't, like they would have to go back and redesign the whole shoe. Think about what materials could they use to improve it. So maybe they wanted a waterproof shoe, but the material they selected was not waterproof. So they had to go back to the drawing board and like look at several other materials that they could have used. Maybe the design wasn't as aesthetically pleasing or wasn't as rigid or durable as they thought it was. So they had to go back and redesign the whole thing again, which is like, in a sense, it kind of sucks when you have to go back and do something, but at the same time, you learn so much from doing it. And like overall, testing is super important. When you don't test a shoe, like this could happen. Hold up, this picture down here. So this is a college athlete from a few years back, Sion Williamson, I want to say. But yeah, so his shoe, he was playing in the middle of a basketball game, and his shoe like ripped apart, which is like a big deal because it injured him. And not only did it injure the player, but the company got in a lot of trouble. And I believe this is a Nike shoe. They got in a lot of trouble because it's really bad for your shoe to fall apart and injure a player and stuff. It's like a car. You don't want to make a car that just like is gonna slip off the road or just like so many failures and like probably crash and stuff like that. You want to make it safe enough and know it's like really, really safe for your user to use. So for this to happen, it's really sad for not only the player who was wearing it, but also the company, the designer, and the teams who worked on this shoe really hard. So doing a lot of testing is really essential. And there's different types of way that people can test the shoe. So these are a lot of like funky looking machines, but they all have a purpose in testing the way a shoe is actually working. Up here, I'm assuming this is a running shoe and they're just running the shoe through the treadmill several amount of times to make sure that's performing the way they want to. This one's over here. These are really cool. So basically, you want to test different individual pieces of a shoe and make sure it's durable enough to use. So when you're like walking, you're gonna bend your heel so many times, you know? So they run tests on these shoes like hundreds or thousands of times to make sure that this shoe is gonna last a long period of time. And if it doesn't, then either something was wrong with the material or it was just a bad shoe in general. So they'll have to go back and redo the whole design again. Then you got like these machines up here, which are basically, they perform a lot of different, like they give a lot of results in testing, but it's just measuring out the cushioning of the shoe and making sure it's comfortable and it gives enough energy return. So like make sure that it's easy to walk on for the shoe, which is really cool. And then we have machines like this. They're mainly used for like figuring out the pivoting of shoes. So like in basketball, you pivot a lot. So they'll just fling it off several times to make sure that it's pivoting the right way. They also use it for like golfing shoes and other athletic shoes that require pivoting. But yeah, these are some of like really funky looking machines, but they're really useful. And there's a lot more out there. I've definitely seen a lot of machines, but I can't really talk about them. But the way that they're testing our shoes is really, really cool in a sense. Let me go on. So yeah, then you have the whole innovation in the shoe industry. So there's so many things that's happening. There's 3D printing of shoes, 4D printing of shoes. A lot of companies are looking into getting more sustainable materials and like finding more sustainable ways in manufacturing their shoes. Here was the 4D printing shoe I was talking about for Adidas. I'm gonna let you guys watch it because it's like super cool. I mean, like the way that they do this is super futuristic, which is why they call their shoe the Future Craft 4D, and like it starts at $300. But something, I mean, I guess I'll explain it too. But yeah, like I'll just play it so you guys can watch it, and it's
When we first started with the idea of Futurecraft, it was to sort of guide us, to set us on a path.
It's a mindset and it's a philosophy to try things.
We're always bringing in new influences, new ideas, new collaborations. 3D printing, for example, was one of these new technologies that really had unlimited possibilities. You know, the initial problem was, okay, can we actually make a running shoe out of 3D printed material that really works and works well?
So when we started thinking about doing 3D printing, we wanted to use liquids because liquids give you the most flexibility in material design. I think of light as a chisel. Light triggers the solidification of the liquid, but oxygen inhibits it. That allows us to have the object grow.
What's really interesting about this collaboration with carbon is we're seeing a convergence of a completely new manufacturing technology.
We're going to scale it with the best industrial partner in the business.
We're able to deliver tens of thousands and moving to hundreds of thousands and into the tens of millions. You know, that's clear in front of us.
We have this amazing opportunity to innovate the printing process, the liquid rising.
And growing in that context can give you new design thoughts you've never had before and new performance capabilities that wouldn't be possible by traditional manufacturing.
This three-dimensional mesh structure, it's a lattice, it's a matrix, it's a web of individual elements. Each one of those little elements is tuned specifically for a purpose.
These lattice structures behave quite differently than anything we've dealt with before. They're much different than foams. Now we have every individual area of the shoe to work with, which is a completely new horizon for us and a new venture.
If you really want to make a shoe that's a size 9, that same shoe for someone who's 180 pounds versus 100 pounds has got to be different.
We can go in within every single cell and engineer that exact cell to do exactly what the consumer needs it to do just for them.
That's fascinating. That's going to change how we create products and certainly how consumers experience products. And I think that's how we see something like Futurecraft 4D playing into the life of an athlete. I would say this is just the very beginning, and you know, it sounds silly and cliche, but you know, who knows, man? I don't know what's next, and that's what's great about going to work every day.
So that's basically the Futurecraft 4D. It's really cool. I mean, just like the way that they print it down up, like, or yeah, like it's mind blowing. I didn't even think we would be able to get there, but it is, which is really cool. And the reason I like this compared to the whole, what was it called? The casting of the shoe is it saves material, but also adds a lot of customization, how they were explaining. Someone from different like body types or body sizes, but same shoe size might experience different like energy loss and stuff. So like having that ability to customize a shoe for you is huge. Yes, the downside is it's a little bit expensive, but like there's so many like positive outcomes that are of it. And these are just like one of the very like, few ways that there's been innovation in the shoe industry. Moving on. I mean, like these are some of the really cool shoes that they have been innovating in. This is a shoe from Allbirds. All the material that they use is from wool of sheep and stuff. It's really cool material to work with. It's really sustainable in a sense. And I don't really know much about the manufacturing process, but just the fact that it's made out of wool in comparison to like the carbon or like, yeah, like carbon fabrics and stuff like that. It's really cool. Then you also have this shoe down here that's also made by Adidas. Something really cool about the shoe is that they collect lots of like waste from the ocean and they turn that waste into like this fiber for your like it's fabric. So like when they're sewing the shoe, it's all, the entire material is from waste that was found in the ocean, which is really cool in a sustainable way that Adidas is trying to make their shoes and be more reusable. And they're also doing this method to make their clothing and apparel, which is really cool. Then you have stuff like Nike. The shoes constructed from waste from landfills, which is also really cool. Then you have some really futuristic stuff over here. This has a lot of like circuits and components in here. It's a basketball shoe, and the whole purpose of it is when you like put your shoe in it and you just like press a button, like it'll lace itself up together, which is really neat. I tried one of these on. Unfortunately, my ankles are like too low, so it doesn't fit my foot quite right. But it's a really cool shoe and a really cool innovative way to do it. And then like for the manufacturing part, how I said again, there's a lot of waste when it comes to making the outsole and midsole. This I believe was Red Book. So it's another shoe company, and what they're doing, they 3D printed the outsole, and the way it works, it just wraps around and ties into the eyelets of the shoelaces. So you have like a full traction to your shoe, which is really cool, and it's like pretty like it's different in a way, but it's a really neat way to manufacture a shoe. And then we go on. Let me see if I can continue. Yeah, so now that I've covered all of that, like a bunch of facts, you guys can actually use this information to prototype your shoes. Hopefully you guys got a little bit more of an insight of different components and different ways that you can manage, or you can make a shoe, as well as understand how different materials might play in making your shoe better or worse. So yeah, so in your baggies, you guys have a lot of different materials. I mean, you guys have like paints and like fabrics and rubbers, and there's so many in there. And you guys can use these materials in any way, shape, or form. So you can design these shoes to be in any shoe you want. Maybe you want a basketball shoe. Maybe you want a shoe for your like family. Like using this information I gave you, hopefully you guys can be able to do make your shoe. Maybe for like if you're designing a shoe for yourself and you want to make a last, you can probably use your foot as a last because it's basically the same thing. Yeah, there's just so many ways that you can design your shoe. For prototyping your shoe, just to give you guys some like little tips and stuff. When you prototype your shoe, it's not going to be pretty. It's going to take you several times. A prototype of a shoe basically means it's a rough draft of your final version. I made the shoe. It's like you can see materials from your bag. It's like kind of wonky. Not the prettiest looking shoe, but it really is comfortable. I don't know. Oh yeah, there we go. It's like it's really thick. So like you can see that my fingers are really separated. So I definitely used layers of foam to make it a little bit more comfortable, and and then like made sure I put like foams in certain places where I want it to be more like cushioning. So like in the back, I want it to be more comfortable to walk in than in the front. So like that's the way I did my shoe, and I try to make it aesthetically pleasing. But it really isn't that well made.
It looks so cool. Would you actually mind if we could exit out of the presentation so we could get like a closer look for the students?
Yes, let me go for it. Oh man, I have two screens, so it's kind of hard. There we go. Yeah, so let me show it again. Yeah, so I did the back, the heel, the front. These are all materials that you can find in your bag. You guys have newspaper, you guys have yoga mats. They're actually like the black stuff in your bags are actually yoga mats. And yeah, you guys have tape, shoelace. Yeah, it's enough material to make one shoe. But maybe you guys have smaller feet than me. I have size 13 in women's, so I have a big foot. But you guys might have smaller shoe size, so you guys can make a smaller 2 pairs of shoes. Maybe you guys just want to make something that looks really cute. And you guys can make a little set to like just decor, maybe some earrings of shoes. I don't know. It's up to you guys to make anything you guys want. I mean, a shoe preferably, but like make it any way you want to make it. You can be as creative as you want with your shoe. Like the possibilities are endless. I know my next shoe I'm gonna attempt to make a self-lacing shoe of a way. I have not thought that far ahead. But yeah, like, yeah. So. which
Yeah,
is
I think it's so cool. Just for the students at home, uh, you know, you mentioned like there's like the yoga mats. I know that my kit also came with this like mesh like,
mesh.
plastic canvas and like a bunch of this might just be like cushioning, but I don't but
Yeah,
it's just like in
there's
terms of like layers. Uh if you could like go through sort
yeah.
of like the materials that you used for each one, like starting maybe from like the sole and like working up to the like upper portion.
Yes. Give me like two. Oh wow.
So while Nina is going to get like a few things to help us do our activity, I am going to start working on my shoe. So taking this like the sort of textured foam, I think this is probably the yoga mat. I'm gonna go ahead and I think I might use the rougher side as the traction part of my shoe, and I'm just gonna like trace my foot.
Yes. Basic. That's exactly what I did. I have like some other parts. So I first started by tracing my foot. Um, I guess I used like the edge of a paintbrush because I didn't have a pen anywhere, and I just like kind of like carved my foot with it enough to give it like a defined look. I made sure I did two of them just because I wanted to have like the rubber, which is gonna be like my outsole, and then I wanted to have the top layer so I can step on it when I put my feet on. Some of you guys might have, I know I messed up on a couple of kids, but some of you guys might or might not have some cotton, um, like the cotton balls. And what I did, I basically just like tear them apart and spread them all around the bottom part of the shoe. And then again, like this is my cushioning system, the cotton, and I just like put it on top to make it a little bit comfortable, and got the whole bottom part of this. And when I hot glued my shoe, I made it like it was pretty ugly when I hot glued the bottom and the top. So I put these pipettes, like the ones that you guys will find, all around my shoe, just so it makes it look pretty in a way, and hides away the like really messy hot glue parts that I glued together. Yeah, and then when I first like made the shoe, I wasn't really thinking, so I just cut a bunch of little parts and just like glued them together. I was like, okay, this is gonna hold up on my end of the shoe. I should have thought a little bit further ahead. I mean, I still made a shoe, but yeah, like I guess my entire goal of my shoe was trying to make it as comfortable as possible, which it is really comfy. Um, but yeah, like you guys can make the shoe out of any of the materials that we have. Yeah, I know you guys have some like foam stuff. These you can use for cushioning, or you can use it for the top part of your shoe. I actually use this. So for the newspaper and like other materials, like you can see in here, I didn't want my foot to be touching that, so I used it to wrap around the inside of my shoe and sort of see it, just so it's like a little bit more comfortable in a way. That's how I use this. I didn't use all the material in my bag, but I'm really hoping I can use like the materials for like another shoe on a smaller scale. So I still have this bandana or this like fabric piece, and I think I'm going to be using this to like actually create a whole upper part for my shoe, and then just decorating my shoe with like other stuff that I have. Yeah, there's so many ways that you guys can create your shoe with the material that we have. Yeah, like I can't even begin to start tell you where. It's up to you guys to make the shoe exactly how you want to make it. But yeah, just like I hope you guys have fun making these shoes, because like they are a lot of fun. They do take quite some time. When I first made the shoe, it took me, I want to say like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. But it was a really good like side project I did. I had a lot of fun doing these. I had my sister try it on just so she can tell me if it was comfortable or not. Although her but it's a little bit smaller. But yeah, like it's so much fun making these. Yeah, let me share the screen one last time. There we go. Yeah, just a quick reminder, like I said this before, prototypes don't need to be pretty. This is a guy who actually made a self-lacing shoe, which is like pretty cool, but just like quick play so you guys can see some of his prototypes and like some of the materials he used for his prototypes. Let me...
Types and development has been done. Exactly. This was an idea I had that kind of used these levers and it opened up and someone would step in and then there were magnets in there where it would seal. It's a little shoddy looking, but
all great prototypes start somewhere.
My original design intent was one that you can get in and get out of the shoe completely hands-free. This was an early prototype made from a hinge that I modified from a hardware store and a cut-up tuna can.
Wow. With feedback from orthopedic specialists, Steve kept refining his idea.
It's a very simple, robust mechanism. This plastic heel cup here is on a spring-loaded hinge, so the bias is to stay open. And when you step down, you hear that click, there's a magnet in there that securely fastens the shoe to your foot. Once it's on, this provides a lot of support all around. And to get out, you simply hit your foot on the floor and it's momentum of your foot inside.
Yeah, basically I just want to show that like your first prototype of your shoe isn't always going to be the prettiest. But like after doing several prototypes, you might get the one that you want, the one that is going to work for you the best, like your final product. But yeah, just really fun, like little video I want to show you guys. Other than that,
types and development.
Just go. I want to thank you guys for like listening to this presentation. I know it's a lot, and like again, thank you for sticking around. When you guys finish your shoe, if you guys want to share it, you guys can either email it to the pre-college program or through Facebook, as well as you can follow the Sports Product Development Club and a little bit more of what we do on our Instagram, or you can check out our website and see some of the other stuff that we've been doing. But yeah, other than that, I want to thank you guys again, and hope you guys have fun making your shoes and learned about like all the like cool like science and like engineering that there is in the shoe industry. But yeah, thank you guys, and thank you, Ellie.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nina. I've been, as you've been talking, I've been working on my shoe as well, and I think definitely the like using the cotton to try to like add more cushioning, I think is super cool. And thank you so much for like sharing how like the intersection of like design can match with STEM and just like all the cool things that can happen, and also like the sustainability focus that you have, I think is like super cool. And definitely like something that we should like continue to keep doing, like as we think about how we're like innovating designs for the future and whatnot. So yes, I will be sure to send in my shoe design, and please be sure to send in yours for those of you watching at home. Thank you again, Nina, so much for leading us through this activity. And thank you, the student at home, for joining us for Sports. We hope that you join us for another session soon. Bye. Here we have the base that I've created. I just made this by tracing my foot and then using the technique that Nina mentioned in her shoe. I like glued some cotton and then I cut out another piece of foam that matched, just like tracing it to make the sole of my shoe. And then to make the walls of my shoe, I'm planning to use the these little foam like little things that came in the boxes that you should be having with you. And I'm just planning to like go around the top edge and just sort of like glue it around. And then later I'll be making cuts in the foam in order to like wrap it around my shoe. So I'm gonna take my glue gun and just go around the top like that, get a really big blob. And then sort of like lining up the foam with that. And yeah, I'm probably going to cut it down to be able to use the rest of it, but kind of looks like an Oreo cookie with a piece of chocolate on it. So that's kind of fun and interesting. Yeah, and it's really cool to see how the things that you're interested in, like whether it's fashion and design, like also go with STEM. Like I think that's something that is just really cool about the world around us is that there's a lot of different things where a lot of your interests can intersect and you can have a really cool career. So I'm gonna take the top and then just like probably just cut it in half while it's on. You can definitely use your own process of creating your shoe. Like Nina said, prototypes don't have to be perfect. But as long as you're like coming up with your ideas and like trying to execute them, it's really fun and really cool to be able to do something like this. So I'm gonna take the other half of fabric and for the foam, sorry, and just sort of go around the sides once more. Also, watch out for the hot glue. Make sure that you're being safe because since hot glue is hot, can hurt a little bit if you're working with it. Great. So we have the walls starting to form. Definitely going to make it so it fits my foot a little bit more, but I'm just trying to get the walls of the shoe onto it so then it could surround my foot. You also might have to hold like the sides while they're gluing because it's like going around in a curved shape and it might not want to hold its place before the glue hardens. So just keep that in mind. Right, coming together. Great. And yeah, just have fun with it. In your kits, you should also have paints. You also you should have shoelaces and like Nina said, the pipe cleaners that you could use to sort of like wrap around and like cover up like the seams where like possibly you might have used cotton for the cushioning and stuff like that. And use like other resources in your house too. Remember how Nina said that she used duct tape. You can do that as well. You can use the paint to like make your own designs. Just have fun with it. Yeah, and you can also use the hot glue to sort of like mold the foam to fit your foot. I know that I'll probably, once I'm done finishing up this side with the other piece of foam that I'll have, then I'll sort of like fold it in and like glue it together in order to make a shoe that would fit around my foot.